video is brought to you by W Energy. Make sure you use promo code SqualorMan446 for 10% off your next order. Yo, what's good, everybody? This is your man, Young Squalor, and this is another episode of the Always Everything with Squalor podcast, where we discuss everything always. And today I have a special guest with me today. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Joseph Powell, and I'm a spoken word poet. My Instagram profile is The Spirit of Baldwin Compels Me, which is the name of my most recent book. And I currently I'm coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee.
Cool, Tennessee. And my sister live in Memphis. That's cool.
Okay.
That's what's up. So, what inspired you to start writing?
I would say about 30, at least 32 years ago, I had this poem that woke me up out of my sleep. And it was fully formed in my head. Something told me to get up and write this down, otherwise I'm going to forget it. And so that's what I did. And I just kind of, from there, just kind of got me interested in writing. I've always wanted to be a writer, and I didn't think that poetry would be the avenue that I was going to lean into, but that's, what eventually developed. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's cool. So your book that you wrote, that's like a compilation of poems that you have?
Yeah, I actually have 4 books that I put out, all self-published. The first one is called Joby Uninterrupted, Bittersweet Symphonies of Bohemian Rhapsodies. The second one is Poetry Man. The third is The Writings on the Wall. And then the most recent one is The Spirit of Baldwin Compels Me.
That's what's up, man. So when you say self-published, how does that work? What process? How do you go through self-publishing?
There's different websites that you can go through. Lulu.com is one of the major ones. Barnes and Noble actually has their own platform that you can publish your book through, and it's just basically you're formatting everything yourself, how many pages you want, how you want it broken up, the content, the table of contents. If you want to design a cover, everything, they'll walk you through the whole process of putting the book together.
That's cool. That is cool right there.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions for you, like as a writer.
Okay.
So basically, the first question would be, how do you handle writer's block? And how often do you experience writer's block?
What I usually do is just go, if I'm in the middle of writing something, or if I'm trying to come up with an idea of what I want to write, I just kind of, walk away from it. Occupy my mind, read a book, watch some TV, listen to some music. I always, a lot of times when I'm writing, I'll listen to jazz. Jazz is my thing. I love jazz. And I usually just kind of go from there, and then come back to it if something hits me, whether it's a line, whether it's a whole stanza, whether it's fully forming. A lot of pieces that I've written, sometimes they'll write themselves in my head, and I'm trying to write that down.
Yeah, that's cool. So you don't experience writer's block that often.
Not often. A lot of, I'm not like a lot of writers. There are a lot of writers who say that they write every day, for so many hours, and that's never been me. I usually write when I'm inspired by something, and I'm inspired by a lot of things. Whether it's a movie I just saw, or a song I just heard, or my relationships with my wife or my daughter, or God. I do a lot of faith-based pieces, a lot of social justice pieces.
Okay.
What's going on in the news. So I'm inspired by a lot of different things.
So what would be your favorite thing to write about?
Um, my wife would probably say I should probably mention her, but I've definitely written a few pieces inspired by her. But particularly in the last couple of years, with everything that's been going on
Mhm.
in terms of current events, like I said, a lot of my pieces have been, dealt with social justice.
Right.
How I feel about certain incidents and how they affect me as a being a black man, being a black man in America, um, and just based on the incident, based on whatever the issue is, I try to incorporate that into the piece.
All right. Okay. So, in your opinion, what are the most important elements of a good piece of writing? What is the most important elements that says the writing is complete?
I think it has to say what you want it to say. I don't think the length really matters. There's certain pieces that I've written that are fairly short and to the point, and then some pieces are longer. And I think it all depends on what you're trying to say in that particular piece.
Okay. So, what's the most difficult part about writing for you personally?
Um, just actually sitting down and doing it. Sometimes you have to be in the right mood,
Okay. So, just
and
go ahead. You go ahead.
yeah, no, sometimes you just have to be in the right mood or the right frame of mind. Like a lot of things, sometimes you just want to kind of chill and veg out, and but sometimes when the muse hits and you got to get up and write it.
I
You
can
know,
definitely
I've
agree.
lost a lot of I've lost a lot of pieces because I've had things come to my head and I didn't have I wasn't able to write it down and then I lose it.
I know how that is. I
And
definitely.
I hate that. Because sometimes it'll in my head it'll sound really good or it'll look really good, and it's like, man, I wish I wrote that down
Right.
because that would have been that would have been amazing.
Uh-huh. 'Cause I write music, so
Sure,
similar to poetry, but I definitely understand what you mean when you catch an idea and you can't write it down.
right.
Yeah.
A lot of times I've been on the road, or somewhere where I don't have a pen and paper,
Hmm.
and sometimes that's when it hits you.
Yep.
And then you try to remember it when you get, when you find a pen and paper and you can't bring it back.
See, do you ever write it down in your cell phone?
I do. I actually I do have a the notes app in my phone.
Yeah.
I tend to use that a lot. I also have all my documents are on my phone, so I can actually access those as well.
Okay. That's
Um,
cool.
so that definitely helps.
I was like, technology that made it a lot easier,
Yeah, absolutely.
but it's taken away from it too, because a lot of people, yeah, it's a gift and a curse.
Right, right.
So, could you describe like your writing space, like your creative process?
Um, Sometimes I sit at my kitchen table. I do have an office, which is actually where I'm at right now, and sometimes I'll sit at my keyboard and type out something. Um, Sometimes when I'm at work, I've written a lot of my pieces when I'm working.
Okay,
currently working as a chauffeur now, and a lot of times in between jobs, I've been able to jot something down, when
that's
it
cool.
hits me, and those have been some of my best pieces.
That's what's up. So, do you get a lot of feedback from your readers?
I do. Either I try to submit to different magazines. One of the unfortunate aspects of that process is the rejection. Emails, not so much letters anymore because nobody sends letters anymore.
Right.
It's all emails. But I've posted stuff online through either Instagram or Facebook, and I'll have people who tell me that they were inspired or they were blown away by what I wrote,
Okay.
and so that's a nice feedback because
Right.
that's that's immediate gratification right there.
That's
Rather than having to wait to hear back from a magazine or
right.
say, yeah, we enjoy you sending it to us, but we can't use it. And I mean and that's part of the process, but it's nice to have somebody, whether they know you or not, say
Right.
that piece really spoke to me.
Right. So, how do you handle negative criticism?
Um,
Or maybe not so much negative. I would say constructive criticism.
Destructive, yeah. I just take it, I take from it what they're trying to say. I don't try to take it personally. I know they're judging the piece.
Right.
I mean, they don't know me, so they're going by what I sent or submitted, and you know, occasionally they'll leave notes. This needs to be tighter, or whatever the critique is, and I try to take that to heart and try to either rework it or just keep going. Like I said, rejection is part of the process, and it can be frustrating. You know, you know, a writer a writer writes to be published and to be seen, and you want as many people to see it. So all the best artists, writers have gotten rejections, and so I take some solace in that, and I just keep going. I've been doing this for almost 35 years, and I'm not going
Yes.
to let a few rejection emails or letters or whatever, stop me from doing it.
So that's good. You've been doing it for a long time. So that's safe to say you have true passion for what you're doing.
Well, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I said, I've been wanting to be a writer since I was a kid. One of my best friends, from childhood, that was something we talked about doing was being writers. And
That's
I initially wanted to be a journalist.
okay.
And all through high school and part of college, I wrote articles for the school papers
That's
and
cool.
that sort of thing. And then the poetry just kind of became a happy accident. I never thought I'd be a poet. I read some in school and was impressed by a lot of people and have gone to a few poetry readings early on. And but when it became something that I realized I could actually do, you know, that became that became my passion. It's like, okay, this is my medium. This is how I'm gonna express myself. And sometimes I see myself still being the journalist in my work, you know, and I, kind of, when I'm commenting on current events or
Right.
that sort of thing. That's the journalist in me. And so I'm still getting to fulfill that childhood dream of being a writer.
So do you think how easy or easy or difficult would it be to become like a full-time writer? Like maybe that's your sole income.
Um, that would be amazing. That's ultimately the goal. And that's why I keep submitting stuff. That's why I go to festivals. I go to open mics. Still, I used to live out in LA. I was part of their poetry scene out there.
Okay.
Now that I'm here in Nashville, I've been part of their scene and just trying to get out there and it's it's a tough road. It's just like with music. you gotta hit the pavements, you gotta pay the dues, do whatever it takes to get yourself out there and hope that somebody, sees your work and says, hey, I want to, I want to use your piece, or, your poem or whatever it is, in a film or
Right.
in a song or whatever. 20 years ago, I got one of my pieces got selected for a National Geographic documentary of all things.
Okay.
Um,
What's up?
I submitted this piece to a British online magazine. They had published it, and which I appreciated. And then I get this email sometime after that, saying, "Hey, we just came across this piece. We're putting together this documentary on the science and culture of human skin." And the piece actually dealt with being a black man in America. So they were doing a segment on skin color, and they thought it would fit, the segment that they were going to do. And so they were like, "Can we film you doing it?" And so I'm like, "I'm going to jump at every opportunity that comes my way." And so I'm like, "Absolutely." So I was still living in LA at the time. They flew me up to San Francisco. We went outside City Lights bookstore, which is a famous bookstore up there. And for 2 hours, we went into the alley. We filmed a piece, and then they came back and they edited it all together. And it's actually up on YouTube. It's Joseph Powell dash Skin. If anybody wants to take a look at that, but that's the segment that they put together based on the piece that I wrote.
That's cool. You can send me that link too. I can put that in
Absolutely,
the description. Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely, definitely. So like, hold on, let me see. One second, one second. So like, for an up and coming writer, what would be your best piece of advice for them?
Um, Write what you want to write. Don't be inhibited by what other people want to tell you to write or how they want you to write. Uh, don't even be inhibited by yourself. Just be free with it. However you're inspired, whatever you want to write, whether it's poetry, whether it's short stories. Um, I'm actually wanting to write, screenplays. I've been talking about writing
Okay,
screenplays for a long time and
that's cool.
yet to do it. But I would just say, just do it. Just start out, one line, a couple lines, start out small and just work your way up to whatever it is you're trying to write. And then once you think you have something, get it out there. Go to an open mic, submit it to a magazine. You never know, who's gonna, be willing to accept what you've written and or who it might inspire or touch. Even if it touches one person, I mean that's it right there.
Right,
You know.
that's cool. So over the course of your 35 years of writing,
Hmm.
how many poems do you think you have written?
Wow. Um, I would say, excuse me, and not even including the ones that are in the books, probably 150 to 200
That's cool.
approximately.
That's
Some that that I've left unfinished. Just stuck in a drawer, or
right.
I have an illegal pad that I filled up and just didn't get back to it and just
Right.
left it alone. So things some things that I've even forgotten that I wrote. It's kind of cool to go back over stuff that I've written from years ago and
Uh-huh.
and I'm like blown away. That's like, wait, did that come out of me?
Yeah.
It's sometimes, and that's kind of the process. Sometimes it's like something takes over. You hear about the muse or the spirit
Hmm.
or however you want to describe it. Sometimes it just comes through you, and you feel like you're just the vessel for it. You're the conduit. However, whatever needs to be said or how it wants to be said, you're the person that's going to be said through. And I'm always glad for that opportunity to put that down on paper and get it out there.
That's cool. So, do you prefer traditional style of reading or do you prefer audiobooks?
Um, I actually like both. I was just having this conversation the other day with somebody, as you know, talking about physical books as opposed to like Kindles and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I said I don't hold it against people who enjoy the ebooks, the Kindles and the Audibles and those type of things. It means people they're reading, but they're just listening as opposed to actually holding a physical book. I personally prefer holding a physical book. Whether it's mine or somebody else's, I like turning the pages and smelling the paper
Right.
and and that's the thing for me as a writer. I love seeing myself in print. That means, I mean, yeah, I want to be paid. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I want to be paid.
Right.
Unfortunately, being a poet doesn't, but which is why I work as a chauffeur or I work whatever job I've had over the years.
Right.
But there's still the you still get jazz seeing your when it does happen, saying your name in print.
Yeah.
That means somebody thought enough of what you wrote to publish it in whatever format that presented itself.
So, do you find technology as being like more like a? I know it gives it more people more access, more ways to access the work, but is it like also kind of like a struggle in the sense that people aren't really reading as much as opposed to years ago?
Um, I think there's good and bad with technology. Technology has helped as far as getting more access. It kind of cuts out the middleman in some ways, where it's almost immediate, where you can actually get your stuff out there. Um, and I know a lot of people are going that route. You know, um, I don't think it's going to take away from the traditional, um, modes or avenues of getting your work out there. I think people are still going to want to read books and magazines and that sort of thing. But I think technology has helped in some ways as far as people being able to get exposure.
Yeah, because like uh for me, technology I feel like it's making people a little bit lazy. Like
Yeah,
because even when you read a book, it's really somebody reading it for you. Even if you may
right,
be following along, because like people
right,
do it while you're at the gym, they're listening to it,
right.
not really reading. You know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah.
getting the
Oh yeah.
information, but they're not reading it.
Right, right.
So that part of like the person's brain will maybe like it's not being used as much, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. Hear you. Definitely.
That's my take on it. So who are your favorite writers?
Right off the bat, James Baldwin. And that's why that's why I titled my latest book after him. The spirit of Baldwin compels me. Um, I've been a fan of his work probably since high school, and I try to incorporate a lot of who he was and what he was about in my work. Maya Angelou is another one.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely.
uh, a lot of poets, particularly Gwendolyn Brooks, Lucille Clifton, Gil Scott Heron. Um, and those are just several. I can I could probably take up the entire time going over writers. I mean, I love writers. I just do. And I love to read. I always have, and I hope that shows up in my work. I try to write what I want to read, and I hope that I accomplish that. I've had people, whether they be friends or family or even just people I don't even know, tell me that you know that was amazing, that was beautiful, or whatever it is, and that's how I feel when I read other writers.
That's
And so that's what I'm hoping that that people take away from what I write.
that's cool. So, um, I know I would talk about it off camera, but would you mind reciting one of your pieces of work for me, please?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely,
Trying to think.
definitely appreciate it.
Not a problem. Any opportunity, I appreciate the opportunity. This is a piece that I wrote several years ago, right after they announced that Robin Williams had died.
Mm.
And since then, I've applied it to other people who've either lost their lives or, unfortunately, took their lives for whatever reason. I did a reading last month, and I was, I in foremost in my mind was Twitch. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that even thinking back now, that still messes me up.
that's crazy, man.
Um, so this piece, I try to apply to that and to other people who've lost somebody, and it's called "From a Tear to a Hand Clap." Don't be afraid to cry, for as surely as the sun rises and sets on us all, real tears must fall at the loss of someone we knew and loved, or even someone who it felt like we knew, whether it was by their hand or someone else's hand or by God's hand, because their time of suffering was done. Tears must fall. It's one of the things that makes us human, that makes us connected, because not letting them fall is a crime against nature, a sin against God, and a shame to the memories of those that we've lost. So cry those tears openly, frequently, passionately, with full on force. And for each tear is a hand clap in celebration and remembrance of the life that's been lost. And imagine, just imagine what a sound that would make.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Definitely,
Yep.
definitely, definitely.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
So I got a few more questions for you.
Bring
And
it.
these are like get personality questions if I
Okay.
so what is your favorite thing to do when you're not at work or not writing?
Um, I like to, like I said earlier, I like to listen to music. Jazz is, top of mind, but I also listen to other things as well. You know, all genres, from hip hop to rock to classical pop.
Yeah.
I'm a movie buff, so I love going to the movies. I don't get to
Okay.
go as often as I would like, but um, my wife and I go from time to time, or I'll watch something streaming.
Okay,
You know,
that's cool.
and like I said, I've had different pieces that I've written that were inspired by a movie that I saw. Whether it was a line or a character or whatever. Um, I wrote this piece that was inspired by the Till movie that came out.
Okay, yeah.
And so yeah, but I like going for walks. I like um, just let's say movies, music. Again, I like to read. Reading is my thing,
That's cool.
and yeah.
Who is your favorite superhero?
Some people are probably thinking Black Panther. Uh,
Yeah.
I would put him in the top five, but when I was a kid, and even today, Spider Man.
Good choice. That's a good one.
Spider Man was it. I was, and I'm a Marvel I'm a Marvel head, do or die. I mean, I love DC. I love some of their output. Batman, Superman.
Right.
But yeah, my childhood friend Earl, he and I, we had a comic book store a few blocks from our house
Okay.
or where we lived, and we were always get the latest Marvel comic,
That's
whether
what's
it was Spider Man or Hulk or Captain America or whoever it was. I watched all the cartoons.
that's cool.
Of course, I have to go see the movies when they come out. Because speaking of technology, I'm glad the technology is such that they've been able to, bring these characters to life as opposed to when
Yeah.
I was coming up and they were doing like the low budget version.
Yeah.
You
Oh man.
know.
I haven't seen some of them. Yeah. See, I'm more on the DC comic side of it.
I, I I hear you. I
Yeah.
ain't mad.
But I do like Spider-Man, Wolverine too. Wolverine probably my
Yeah.
favorite superhero of all time, probably.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Um, Dependable, uh, intelligent. I do believe. I do believe, a lot of who I am, the life experiences I've had, in addition to, having gone to school, not that that is either here nor there, um, has added to that. And spiritual,
Okay.
spiritual is always, faith has always been a large part of who I am since I was a child. I was brought up in the church. I went to a Christian college. I've been involved in different ministries. Of course, being an artist, and just being a human being, I've wrestled with a lot of different issues,
All right.
and a lot of different things that I was taught. or told this is the way to be or act, and you grow up and you learn that some of that they weren't
Mm-hmm.
they
Yep.
weren't forthcoming about it, and so you have to learn. Education is key. I mean, even if you go, it doesn't matter if you've gone years of college or grad school or whatever it is.
Right.
Your life is your education.
Yeah, experience.
Experience, life
Definitely.
experience is your education. And I if I've learned anything, I'm almost 60 years old, and that's one thing that I've learned is life is education.
Definitely. Definitely. So this is the last question. How did you feel about this interview? Honest opinion.
I feel great. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm glad you reached out to me and
Definitely. Definitely.
said that you wanted to do this, and I'm all about the opportunity whether I make it myself or somebody else invites me to do it. I'm all about it, and I appreciate the questions, and I don't feel like I'm sitting talking to Oprah. So but
Cool.
there were no really hardball questions per
Yeah.
se, which I appreciate. And
Definitely. Definitely.
no, I appreciate your questions. I appreciate everything that you've asked, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my some of my work, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm hoping this is the first of many.
Definitely did. Definitely. Definitely. I appreciate you for coming on and participating, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Cool, cool. So one last time, if you could tell the people where they can find you, where they can find your books.
Absolutely. My name is Joseph Powell once again. All four of my books are available online, either through Amazon or Barnes and Noble. They are Joby Uninterrupted, Bittersweet Symphonies, and Bohemian Rhapsodies. Poetry Man, The Writings on the Wall. Hang on one second. I meant to do this before we started. So this is Joby Uninterrupted.
Got you.
I do have visual aids.
Definitely, definitely.
Um, this is Poetry Man.
Okay.
And this is The Spirit of Baldwin Compels Me. I
Oh,
don't have Writings on the Wall is the other one, which I don't have available, but all four books are available online. The YouTube video, Joseph Powell Skin, you type that in and it should come right up. That's a segment that I did for the National Geographic documentary, which aired on PBS about 20 years ago.
cool, cool.
I'm also on Instagram, which is where Squalla found me, under The Spirit of Baldwin Compels Me. And I'm also on Twitter under Joby Poet, JLBYPOET. And yeah, I'm hoping to. I was working on a chapbook this past year that I'm hoping
Okay.
to get out. Hopefully this year.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, 2023. I'm hoping for more opportunities to do festivals and readings, around the country. And if you happen to, I definitely will promote those on Instagram and the other platforms. And if you do happen to see that posting, please come out and support. And please go online and support your not just me, support local poets. We
yep.
definitely appreciate it. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, man. Definitely, definitely. Cool, cool. So we about to sign out. It's been a good real one, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. You have a great one.
You do the same.
Thanks a lot.
All right.